accord, inshallah. Okay, we're going to begin Holy Day meeting. Let's start off with the Moorish American prayer. 2 fingers on the right, 5 on the left, face the east. Allah, Father universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day. For his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. We're going to do the reading of the divine constitutional bylaws, which is laid down by our beloved prophet. Salvation, Allah, unity, Moorish Science Temple of America, divine constitution and bylaws. Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. It is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All members or all meetings are to be open and closed properly according to the Circle 7, the love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on the Friday, the first man was formed in flesh, and on the Friday, the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister because of Allah's love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws. All members must obey the laws of the government, and because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and a partial of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. The organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With all members, with us all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and partial of the said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865, during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live in the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and partial of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Morocco Central America. Then are entitled to the name faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters, you must obey father and mother and be industrious to become a part of the uplifting and fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. Noble Drew Ali, founder, Moorish American Prayer. Allah, Father Universe, Father Love, Truth, Peace, Freedom, and Justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day. Through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. More Science Civil America. Home office is Noble Drew Ali, Chicago, Illinois, U.S.A. Islam. Islam. Welcome to the Holy Meeting, everyone. We, just as it said in our divine constitutional bylaws, at 2, Friday is our holy day, and it's also the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. We see Jummah Mubarak for those in the greater Ummah of Islam, and then amongst ourselves, we say Happy Holy Day for all Moorish Americans, for the Moorish Americans. But collectively, it is the holy day for all Muslims and Muslims over the world. So no matter how you just prescribe to Islam or how you express Islam, you know that Friday is a special day of gathering, a special day of teaching and hearing a message. Okay. It's kind of, some people will be like, the khutbah is usually given early, you know, as far as, it's like 1 o'clock, 1:15, you know. But by the time, we have, the Juma prayer and the khutbah here, they already finished over in the east. They're already at nighttime, you know. So, a lot of times, so it's very special in a sense, how it unfolds, as far as the time variations and stuff like that. But I know that focus on a specific day, on this specific day, in a sense, is very important. We know within some symbolism, but what is being told, if you look at Act 2, is that that first man, when it says first man, is formed in flesh. And then for first man on a Friday was on a Friday, that first man departed out of flesh. Okay. So, someone would say, well, what are we alluding that to? Are we alluding that to the creation of Adam and then the death or the crucifixion of Jesus? Somebody would think about it and say, well, that could be the possibility. But we're talking about first man. Everybody embodies first man. Because first man is the archetypal man. first man is the divine man that was firstly that is close to Allah. That's why he ascends to his father God Allah, he ascends to him. Some say, well, is he the son of God or something? Well, you have to know the symbolism, terminology for son of God, terminology for God, the Father. These are not necessarily dealing with a biological relation and stuff, but we're dealing with the closest, a description of the closest of an individual. When you're saying first man, and then he uses the term Father God Allah, that means that his divine proximity is in line with Allah. It's the great God Allah to us. The Father God Allah, what we'll say Prophet Noble Drali, because we're dealing with a station. In order and describe that close or that proximity, they use the word Father. Also, Father can be alluded to the word founder. Sorry, boy. But look, founder and father are similar. Well, I was told by previous Supreme Grand Sheik D. Baliel that many times Noble Drew Ali referred to his members as children, as his children, and he was a father. You know, so in reality, we're talking about relation in this sense, and not necessarily uh, offspring. We're not talking about um, in that in that sense. But what we can, or basically what I want to do is expound on the fact of a few weeks ago when we spoke about the lower self. There's an idea of ascending and descending, and when you begin to read we begin to dig into a lot of the material and these tools that the Prophet left, would be our divine constitution bylaws, whether it be the Moorish Holy Quran or the questionnaire. The language takes on different meanings. The language take on different meanings. I believe we already established when you talk about the questionnaire, you go into question 64, give 5 names that are given to the descendants of Adam and Eve. So Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, and beast. You're talking about a nature, a descending nature and character. So descent doesn't necessarily mean that, there's You know that Lucifer gave birth to Satan or whatever. These are just, or they're like they're like the descendants and bloodline to Adam and Eve. No, these are descendants in nature of who Adam and Eve can become. These are descendant in nature of who we can become if we're not careful. I know, brother uh, Abdullah. Well, he was probably to see some of Taharka Bey's presentation past Sunday, and I believe Brother Solo did too. I just saw it a few nights ago, or like last night, or probably the night before. I was able to see it. No, not night, or during the day, yesterday. Actually, it was yesterday because you know, he was able to let me see it. Um, and I could say, first of all, a lot of his presentation was mind blowing. Um, it confirmed a lot of my speculation, and it furthered some questions, but at the same time, it gave a lot of clarity. So, for those who don't know, is a Moorish American brother. He's not he was with our grandbody, but he left. He's still a friend of mine, a brother of mine, Tawaka Bey, and he has the Moorish World TV. He does a lot of stuff on that. Very controversial in the community because uh, he's very aggressive with his approach. Very loud, everything. You can tell he was that rowdy dude, before before he donned his fez as a Moorish American. But needs to say he has always been on the forefront of exposing a lot of the schisms. And I can tell you this from someone who's been in the movement for a little bit. A lot of people don't want to touch on those schisms. Them schisms is a problem, and people don't want to talk about it. And a lot of the leadership in these different administrative bodies have given so much cover up and 52 fake outs. Hold on. This is what's apologies for that. That was Brother Patel. Hopefully he can get in. But like I was saying, that particular presentation this past Sunday, like I said, mind blowing. Uh, but just knowing that he's very aggressive on the topic of the schisms. When we're talking about schisms, we're talking about the separation. Basically, where all these grand bodies come from. I was actually wanting to do a presentation like that, actually, but of course, the brother has way more information than I do. He has time to research and get a lot of stuff. and that basically where he lives near Baltimore in the Baltimore area is what they call the DMV is like a it's like a hub for Moorish Americans. Even though Chicago is the center, Mecca, as we would say, Baltimore is like the hub. There's Moorish Americans everywhere. They're everywhere. They're there. Um, so a lot of information is heavily floating around in Baltimore. So you can definitely get a lot of stuff. I know I can understand that. And then, but for the most part, man, when it comes to that separation topic, people don't want to touch it. People don't want to touch it, or they have elaborate stories, or like I said, 52 fake outs for their members and other people just to justify certain things, and it doesn't necessarily add up to nowadays in 2020. You know, um, but the brother, for the most part, what he did on the issue of the beginning part of the movement, or not the beginning, but uh, the time where the prophet was in the flesh, what happened, and they were trying to, take things over then. When we talk about Lomax Bay, I didn't know how deep it went to with Lomax Bay. Lomax Bay was probably the most premier sheik or officer in the movement. Prophet moved him to Detroit to help out in Detroit. And when he got to Detroit, he increased the membership and the finance. He was very charismatic and people gravitated towards him. And you could actually see, let me see this real quick. You could actually see him at one point uh, in his you can see at one point where he really is, I could say, he's jockeying for the number one spot. Where he's jockeying for the number one spot. I'm gonna show you real quick. I don't care what anybody says. When you look at this picture, body language says everything. Body language says everything. So you look at this picture here. This is the prophet, Noble Drew Ali, of course. This is Lomax Bay. You see the prophet, you see Lomax Bay stands taller than the prophet. You see the prophet has his hand over his heart. So is Lomax Bay. Hand to the side. Lomax Bay is like this. Prophet. Bags are similar. If not a direct duplicate, but he doesn't have the star. Prophet has a star on his back, on the sash. Oh yeah, on the strap of the bag. I'm sorry. Yeah, he wanted to be the man. Now, right here is Edward Meliel. And you can see he's chilling. Emilio is chilling. You can't. He's like, look, man, I know how this is gonna go down. He's determined. Like this guy's like, yeah, I'm one up to be appointed. Emilio's like, all right, I'm gonna sit right here chilling. I ain't trying to. I ain't being extra like you. The prophet already chose me, so I ain't got nothing to worry about. But you over here trying to imitate the prophet like extra, you know. But anybody else putting their hand on. So what type of what is he communicating at this point? Nobody else is covering that. Everybody, only the prophet is doing it. Him and the prophet right here. But everybody else is like hands folded, and the hands on their laps. This guy, brother here, I forgot who that is. Um, he got his hands under his robe. Sister hands to the side. Everybody else hands to the side. Hands folded, but nobody else's hands is folded. Man, the men's hands are folded. So, well, not everybody. But the prophet is here. Lomax Bay is here. Why is Lomax Bay doing this? And his hands down to the side. What is he symbolizing? What is he trying to communicate? Is he saying he's the one next in charge? Is he trying to tell everybody that this is me, I'm the one? Now, if you reference back to question 64, where would Lomax fall on this? This is more of a Lucifer, you know, because he hasn't fallen out of favor with the prophet yet, but his ego is starting to get big. And then later on that year, he tells the Moors, well, either that year or early the next year, he tells Moors, don't follow him, follow me. I gotta get the direct date of that, but that's significant. And I told you that this man was capable of bringing in numbers. And just like a lot of people were jealous of Emilio because Emilio only was in the movement for 2 years and he got elevated the first year he got in. It's a rough thing to swallow. Going through his mind, oh man, you sent me out to Detroit and you let this guy take over my temple one? Man, you better, and he about to be your number two, man. You better make me your number two. After I've been with you all these years, Claude Green in his ear. Yeah, we can run this thing ourselves. We don't need him. All the numbers you bring in, all I gotta do is manage the business part of it. You can imagine what type of conversations, where they letters at? Claude Green and Lomax Bay, where is their corresponding letters between each other? Moore's the lower self is tricky. It is tricky. And it's key to understand this. It's key to understand why the prophet said, keep your hearts and minds pure with love and your body's clean water. But it's not, as simple as that seems, it's very complex in the sense of what to do. Because to have love, you need to purify. You need to make the way. As uh, John the Baptist, the forerunner for Jesus, went off, and he always told the people to prepare, prepare, prepare for your king or for the kingdom has come. Purify your mind, get your heart ready, because you can't necessarily grasp the understanding of love if you're unpure. Love is such a sacred tool. And we're not talking about romance or anything like that. More as we're talking about actual love that transcends all things. But it's hard to grasp it. It's not easy. It's not. And sometimes we get so blinded by our own selves and our misconceptions of what reality is, who we are. And guess what? We miss love, or we miss the point of love. We can't love, or we think we're loving, or we think what we're doing is love, but it's not. Because the where I wanted to go with it is expound how ways we think and we perceive ourselves and we perceive what we're doing is right or where we're at is good in life. And it's not, what I'm saying? It's not basically in line with Allah or what's divine. And this is not a judgment call, but this is something, self examination. We always have to self examine. It said, man, know thyself and thy father God Allah. So man, know thyself and Allah. I'm sorry. No man, know thyself and Allah. And then you go to chapter 3 in the Moorish Holy Quran, right? He said, man, know thyself. Chapter 3, Allah's lessons, the unity of life. Let me say this. This is probably everybody's favorite chapter besides chapter 1. People love quoting out of here. But they miss the point. And the point is to study yourselves, your higher self and your lower self. Know the tendencies of your lower self, your descent nature, so you can avoid it, right? Chapter 3 goes, and again, Allah who met his pupils in the sacred grove and said, no man live unto himself, every living thing is bound by cords to every other living thing. Blessed are the pure in heart, pure in heart, for they will love and not demand love in return. They will not do to other men what they would not have other men do unto them. There are two selves. How many selves? Two selves. The higher self and lower self. The higher self is the human spirit, clothed with soul, made in the form of Allah. This goes, see right there. This is what I just read was verse 6. Verse 6 ties into question 1 in our questionnaire. Who made you? Why did he use the word made? and not create? Oops. Why did he use the word made and not create? Islam? Why did he use the word made and not create? Let's go back to 6. The higher self is human spirit clothed with soul made in the form of Allah. Okay. 7. The lower self, the carnal self, the body of desires, is a reflection of higher self, distorted by the murky ethers of the flesh. The lower self is an illusion. It will pass away. The higher self is Allah in man. It will not pass away. So if the higher self is your true self, and it is Allah in man, then it was never created. Time never was when man was not. So chapter 1, so I mean, so question 1 in your questionnaire is who made you? Allah. He didn't create you because you already was here. You are you because it was Allah. Allah and you. Your individual perception didn't come into play until later. As you began to ascend into the fleshly realm, from the soul, playing the soul, the individualism didn't really come into the soul part. The oneness of Allah is in the spirit. That mind or that idea is with the spirit that truly grasps that. When you come into the soul, when the spirit is clothed in the soul, this is where the psyche comes into form. And then you begin to develop certain individual perceptions of your separation, that uniqueness of oneself in this time and frame of space. It's time that actually gives the division. Is what divides it. So when you fall into time and space, then the individual idea of yourself is and this is not even, just like the basic primordial idea of self or who you are. The basic. And then as it descends further, as you descend further into the flesh, as you descend further into the flesh, right? Then the illusion of the self begins to develop. The false illusions, the desires, these things, I gotta have this, I gotta have that, I feel this, that, this, another. This is when that comes in play. And then it confuses the soul part, the soul cycle. The spirit knows what it is. Spirit is truth. It's just chilling. Your real higher self, your true self is just chilling. Waiting for you to reconnect. Waiting for us to wake up or recognize it. A few weeks ago, I took a picture of Frankenstein and I put a fez on it. And it was like the, it was the caption picture for the presentation I did a few weeks ago for Holy Day. And I delved into the concept of, Frankenstein and the Incredible Hulk, how, Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein. It's kind of funny because, growing up, I knew the Dr. Frankenstein and I knew Frankenstein monster, right? But I never consciously put them together like, oh, wow, the monster's named after this creator because that's technically supposed to be him. You know what I'm saying? Dr. Frankenstein basically tried to clone himself in a sense. He tried to create something of himself and it backfired on him. Islam, it backfired on him, right? And then now you have uh, the Dr. David Banner in the Hulk. It's a little more intricate with that now because you know, Banner wasn't trying to clone himself. He was trying to satisfy the emptiness that was there, the regrets, the feeling of failure. And I'm not talking about I'm talking about the TV show Banner. I'm talking about the TV show because you go into the comic books, this is the whole different. It's a whole different basically origin or story in a sense. But the TV show, gave more dimension to Banner. If you remember, I don't know if you guys how old you guys are. I know Aaron, you're the youngest one out of us, so I know you probably don't remember the actual made for TV movie of the Incredible Hulk back in the '70s. But some of us, shoot, that was actually before I was born, actually. But I, I was able to watch it one day because I had actually bought the box set. Um, and I noticed now looking at it, you know, he Banner was actually suffering from a lot of regret. He was holding on to something that might have been also traumatic for him. He didn't have a well-grounded perception of truth or his true self because what he did was he only saw what he could not do, which was save his fiance or his wife, uh, you know, the woman of his life, the woman of his heart, died in a car accident. When the car flipped over, he was there, but he couldn't get her out the car, and the car exploded, and she ended up dying. He didn't have the strength to unbuckle her strap and get her out. He regretted it, so he spent much of his research and time looking into people who, at great stress in times of danger or whatever, were able to get this strength to do things like they had the strength to lift the car up, or they had the strength to fight a bear, to save their child, or that all that types of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, "Well, how did they get this?" And then later on, he was able to discover that there was a spike in gamma ray energy in solar flare, gamma rays, and all that. So he was just like, "Wow, man, if that's it, then I can." He didn't even wait to do no trial runs, none of that. His ego got ahead of him. And what happened? He overdoes it. He gets an overdose of gamma radiation, and he ends up changing into the Hulk. The Hulk was a reflection of his rage, his regrets, and all that type of stuff he felt, not saving his wife, and it becomes the Hulk. That's why anytime, it heightens, he gets in, heightened in any activity or whatever, he goes through his metamorphosis and change. But how many times do we go chasing after certain things and we're just feeding ourselves, our lower self, our false self, our Frankenstein monster, our incredible hope. We're not listening to the voice of reason. We continue to pursue those things that are taking us away from focusing on our higher self. You know, let me continue reading. It's time. It's 9 o'clock. Oh, you know, we did start coming. Okay, let's continue. Verse 8. The lower self is an illusion and will pass away, and the higher self is a lie, man, it will not pass away. Verse 9. The higher self is the embodiment of truth. The lower self is the truth reversed, so is the falsehood manifest. The higher self is justice, mercy, love, and right. The lower self is what the higher self is not. The lower self breeds hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harms. The higher self is the mother of virtues and the harmonies of life. Pause. Stop right there. Let me address something real quick. There are a lot of Moors who are not studying well and using sound right reason. They are stuck in the ego to the point where they don't understand or perceive the idea of a father or Father God of love. So they switch it. You got people like Cujo in Canada who switched to Moorish American prayer, and now he says, Allah, Mother of the Universe. You know, you got Moorish American, sisters out there, or Moors, out there, even the sisters who put mother in the prayer, who wanted to change it. They said, well, Allah was Allah. Started off as Allah. That's been disproved. That has been disproved. Islam. So what I'm trying to say at this point is that if you look at the verse I just read, it says the higher self is the mother of virtues, the harmonies of life. So if the higher self is Allah in man, what is it telling you? Why is now the higher self, which is Allah in man, the mother of virtues? Because the virtues are embedded in us as nurturing principles. In this manifestation or in this expression, the term mother comes into play. Because now it's implementing a nurturing process while you're on the earth. You cling onto these virtues to nurture yourself back to your higher self. So what are the virtues again? Justice, mercy, love, and right. What does that sound like? Think about it. What does that sound like, Morris? It's not on a dot, but it sounds like something familiar. All right? Huh. Sounds like our ancestor in relation, Ma'at. Truth, justice, righteous, reciprocity, balance, order, harmony. Mother of virtues. Justice, mercy, love, and right. There's a combination there. There's a connection. There's a connection. So a lot of people be like, "Oh, he's the father." It has nothing to do with it because we're so trapped in a falsehood of our genders. That we forget that the gender in its main basic state, are principles, are functions that exist. Okay, we'll continue. We'll try to move forward so we can wrap it up. 11. The lower self breeds hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, everything that harms. The higher self is the mother of virtues, the harmers of life. 12. The lower self is rich in promises, but poor in blessings and peace. It offers pleasure, joy, satisfying gain, but gives unrest, misery, and death. It gives men apples that are lovely to the eye and pleasant to the smell. Their cores are full of bitterness and guile. If you would ask me what to study, this is everybody's part. And a lot of more is you jacking this up, you know. Oh, study, study, study. But you study what? Study, study, study. And this is what people don't know. People quote this all the time, but don't understand the in depth on it, like what this really is, what the sun, what it means. So we go into and it says, if you were to ask me what to study, I would say yourselves. You say one self, it means both of them. And you would have to study. You know, then you would ask me what to study next. And I will reply yourselves. Keep studying it because there's different phases to there's different phases to who you are. There's different phases to who you are. As man unfolds, as God unfolds. So who you are at one stage of your life ain't gonna be there. And then your lower self is gonna show up in different levels. Reference Jesus in the garden. He goes into the garden, he's tempted by his lower self. It appears. Yourselves, your descendant nature. Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, beast. Is going to appear. They're going to appear. You got to see where you are. Where is your lower self right now? Where is it at on the scale? Where have you ascended and descended to? Islam, we have to be careful. Adab told us one time on the call, he said, man, your lower self will show up. Ego will appear. You could be doing good. Ego will creep up. Why are you doing good? You feel everything going right. That's prime time for ego to show up and show out. And then sometimes Allah gotta have you lose everything. So you go, oh damn man, I see where I messed up now. You gotta look at where your situation is. Sometimes that happens to reveal that a lot of times you're the stumbling block, you're the roadblock. Islam, where in my character, where's the blockage? Why can't I move in this area or complete this and that? What am I doing? Where is it at? A lot of times, a lot of our trials and tribulations are really just a reflection of where we are. Islam is a reflection, or you know, uh, 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 I could say, uh, um, an expression in our reality of where we are inward. Because you come in and then you fall into these pitfalls, or you have these particular things in your life, and you're like, man, what could I do to improve it? What needs to change? Oh, gratitude, gratitude. Yeah. So we're looking at um 15. It says, he who knows well his lower self knows the illusions of the world and knows the things that pass away. He who knows his higher self knows Allah and knows well the things that cannot pass away. Thrice blessed is the man who has made purity and love his very own. He has been ransomed from the perils of the lower self and is himself his higher self. So now we're talking about he is himself the higher self now. It's no longer a distance. There's never a distance, but the understanding in the manifestate or the expression is now one and complete with the higher self. Now you're actually living as your higher self. Whereas before it was something you were trying to grasp and understand. You know what I'm saying? So now Jesus is no longer in the distance. Jesus is now, you and Jesus is one. You understand Jesus completely because now you've embodied the principles of Jesus. It's no longer someone you're looking at and studying from a distance or reading about. You're now walking in that in the same way. That's why they said Jesus in chapter 2. If you go back to chapter 2, verse 20, it says that naught can make them one but love. Right? Naught means nothing, right? That Allah so loved the world that he clothed his son in flesh that man can comprehend. Man can't comprehend. Man needs an example. You can go to chapter 4. Man needs an example. He needs rituals. He needs patterns to see. In order for man to comprehend, he needs an example. You can't just say things and people expect them to, comprehend. We're not there yet. We're talking about man. We're talking about us in our fallen state. We're not talking about first man. First man don't need an example. First man is the example. But us here on the Zoom call and any other time or part of our life, we gonna need an example. So when the example is clothed in flesh, that's what it is. Jesus is the example. Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam, he is the example. Buddha is the example. These are not people you're supposed to worship. These are people you're supposed to look at as an example of living your life. That's why it's made possible for to reach that particular idea. Kind of Prophet Abu Ali is the example. He was a healer. He brought love to them to us because he one of his main things was healing. Healing is a love attribute. It's a love action. He gave. Prophet died poor. He didn't even have money when he was alive like that. He had his money, but he didn't have enough to secure you know, so Emilio, I could just pay for your room or board. I could, that, but give you a little spending money, you know. Just come work for me, quit your job. I can give you that. He had enough to do that. But he wasn't doing that with all the rest of them. He did that with me and you. He wasn't telling everybody else to do. He was like, I can take care of you. I got you. I just need you to come work for me. And the prophet passed for him, man. He didn't leave no millions and millions of dollars. That wasn't his. And the money was stolen from him, supposedly. So he had, it wasn't his, but he came to bring love because his thing was he wanted to give, and that's what he did. He gave his time. The prophet could have done, you know what he could have done, man? And I was thinking about this earlier today. He was a magician, and he had his healing compounds and all that. He could have made more money just going on the road selling his healing compounds and teas and oils and doing magic shows and plays. He could have made a killing. He could have done that. He could have just done magic and just kept it pushing. He could have done that. But he took the time to sit and develop this particular movement that was put on his heart by Allah. If he was trying to hustle people, why did he create? Why did he could have filed any type of organization? The organization he could have kept it a civic organization. He could have defiled it in any other way. Because I'm sure if you look up all the churches, I'm sure if you look up the Ahmadiyya filing or anyone else who filed their organization or whatever, they weren't filed under her revised statute. They weren't filed, the way the prophet filed it. And they didn't take the trip all the way to Havana, Cuba, for the Pan American Conference to represent us. Why did he go down there? Why did he take a trip down there for? If he was on some money hustle, which he was accused of by one of his members, it was a money hustle. It was a money hustle. That's what they were trying to say. It was a money hustle. Where the money then? The prophet was into getting on town, getting all those type of things. He had the right people around him. People counting and basically, who are professional and what they do, he couldn't get over them. He wouldn't be able to get over them. They'd be like, "Hey man, I want my cut." But some of them said that regardless. I want my cut. But see, the prophet was giving. He was someone who was giving of himself. The one more said, I was talking to Sheik A. Smith Bay, and he said, man, the prophet was healing people, and he said that stuff was taking a toll on him more. And I said, what do you mean? He was like, Mo, when you heal somebody, you take on that essence inside of you. That's why you have to be careful. That's how more people got to be careful, and they always cleaning and all that stuff like that. I was like, you know what, Mo, you're right. And I said I was so, I never, it just didn't click. And I realized like, yo, because I know people that do it. They do like, Reiki and all that type of stuff and cleaning people out, and all that and chakras. They absorb all that. That's why some people would go do that for, might do that to you, like clean chakras out, all that. Let's, they're doing a reading, then whatever. But they're actually doing work on you, man. They cleaning, they got the shades burning, all that. Cause they gotta clean that. They gotta purify themselves after it's done. They might take a bath, like a sage bath with Epsom salt, a salt bath. That's why some people in the who deal with the Orishas, the Ifa, you know, they wear all white for a reason. When they do their work, they gotta wear that all white. They don't wear no other color. They wear white because white reflects. It don't absorb. Black absorbs. Met a lady one time when I was doing substitute teaching out in Philly, and she was wearing all white all the time. I'm like, why she wearing all white? I said, this lady got all white outfits in the crib. Like, is she wearing the same all white outfit? What is going on? Come to find out, she working with the Ifa or some say voodoo or whatever. And a lot of things she expressed to me, I didn't know. Said, you doing libations? I said, yeah. My libations and stuff because we were working together at Imhotep charter school. At Imhotep charter school, they do they have morning libations and a drum circle, and then they do a thing to the ancestors or whatever that. And she was saying, man, they shouldn't be doing that because they're not trained to deal with that level and da da da. Those things can cling on to them. You calling out certain names, you using water and all that. You said you don't know who. You may say Malcolm X, right? You might say Malcolm X, but you might get Big Red, Detroit Red, Detroit Red. Tendencies might come out and cling on to you. So now I used to do libations. I'm following after Bobby Hammond and all them on the videos and all the lecture videos, and I'm doing libations. And I'm like, I don't think of nothing else. But this lady, she was talking about, nah, that stuff can cling on to you. That's why I wear white. Wear white for the energies, they repel the energies. I was just like, oh, I get it. And then, fast forward, talking to A. Smith Bay yesterday, he was just like, yeah, the prophet was absorbing a lot of that stuff. That's why the prophet wore white a lot of times. You look at all his robes that he wore, They're white. The prophet wore white a lot. I mean, of course, he had, the suits. He had a suit. But, when he's standing there with the Moors, his outfit is white. He raising his arms up. With the picture with him raising his arms up. He's clearing the energies out. He's wearing all white. But, eventually, he still take us hold. So, Ishmael Bey was telling me, he was just like, more, why do you think the prophet was in his private chambers, man? I thought he was just studying. But then it hit me later. I was walking today, handling my business. I had some things to do. I was thinking about our conversation, the conversation I had with Ishmael Bey. And I was just like, man, when he was in his private chambers a lot. And Emilio actually, gave testimony that something mystical happened up in the chambers. That's when he said the prophet spoke to him through his godheads. What are you talking about? And I can tell you right now, I can't. I'm not even going to elaborate on that because I'll probably be wrong for what that really meant or what he was talking about. But something mystical happened in the private chambers. You know what I mean? But you know, the prophet was given of himself to make this happen. You know, and so talk about giving and healing. These are love attributes. But in order for love to come, purification has to come. Okay, got purified. So, um, 17, man seeks salvation from an evil that deems a living monster of the nether world, and that they have gods that are but demons in disguise, all powerful, yet full of jealousy, hate, and lust, whose favors must be bought with costly sacrifice of fruits and of the lives of birds, animals, and humankind. He was just talking about just give this sacrifice this, sacrifice that. Then you talking about certain primitive practices and stuff like that, sacrificing. To what God are you sacrificing? This let's switch it up a little bit. Our ideas are God. Man's ideal is his God. With man, God one day, what's his God one day won't be next, won't be the next day. Your ideas change. If your idea is God, sometimes your ideas can be what you think is God, it's actually a demon in nature. Your ideals of yourself, ideas of your perceptions of life, or those type of things. It may seem godly or it may seem this way, but it's not in the sky. Islam. So let's move forward. It says, and yet these guys possess no ears to hear, no eyes to see, no heart to sympathize, no power to save. This evil is a myth. These gods are made of air, clothed with the shadow of a thought. The only devil from which man must be redeemed is self, the lower self. If man would find his devil, he must look within. His name is self. if man will find his savior, you must look within. And when the demon self has been dethroned, the savior love will be exalted to the throne of power. David of the light is purity, who slays the strong Goliath of dark and seats the Savior love upon the throne. Okay, Islam. So you're looking at purity and love that basically together brings about a process of our salvation when it comes to dealing with the lower self and those things. So when we talk about purity, what we're looking at, you know, um, you're looking at reflection, inward always chase the chassis. Let's look at the COVID-19 situation. We're all, in the beginning, I don't know what's going on, but, I don't see too much emphasis, but there was a lot of emphasis of washing your hands, making sure you sanitize, you know, sanitize, purity, you know. So, and this time, this message that basically comes very perfect because I really wasn't sure how I was going to talk about the situation, but I wanted to touch on the idea of what's going on in 20 December 21st. December 21st, we know is the Great Conjunction. And I'm going to end it in this. When you look at the Great Conjunction between Saturn and Jupiter, you talk about two planets with two different type of energies. Okay, but both of them deal with govern. Okay, now Jupiter is more of dealing with liberties, dealing with giving the freedom, the people, giving, creating opportunity, all those type of things. Well, Saturn is dealing with the restricted sense of it. But Saturn is going to deal with more of, the idea of changing, you know what I'm saying, or regulating things that need to be regulated. Okay, so both of them, deal with governance, what I'm saying, but they also deal with opportunities too as well that come into play. So, but the message where you can sit at that time is that you have opportunities to excel. You're going to have opportunities to excel, but you got to make sure that the things, you got to prepare yourself for it. Okay. You got to prepare yourself for it because what they're trying to say is that this uh, December 21st, which is Monday, is going to be an opportunity to set forth your goals and stuff for 2021. Islam. So you're dealing with you're going to be, but that day itself is going to be so heightened in energy. You know what I'm saying? Where you have to be prepared for it. We have to be prepared for it. I know the day before we're going to have our grand body meeting, and there's some changes that I know were put on the table on for myself or so forth and that, but it was mainly to correct certain things in the grand body. I had put some things that I felt they would need to correct, you know. Um, so, you know, for that to come about on that day, or as us having a meeting, it's in perfect alignment. My encouragement to you guys on here and anyone who's listening to this is, 2021 comes or 12/21 comes, please take time to reflect and say, where am I at? Where are my issues at? Where my blockages at? Let me work on them. Because if you do that, you'll be able to take advantage of that. You know what I'm saying? So, take advantage of the Saturn energy to check every point that you need to check, so forth. take the advantage of the Jupiter energy to regulate. It's not regulate, but to work on or establish, to establish. Jupiter is to establish. You know what I'm saying? Now, um, being that it's in Aquarius, Aquarius deals with government too. We're probably looking at things on the outward too. Keep your eye on Biden, the situation dealing with, Trump, Biden, the Morocco thing is coming, that's in play. And let me give this PSA about Morocco. I just want to say this. Hold on, let me take a drink of water. I was kind of dry. Excuse me, pardon me. Let me say this about Morocco. And for anyone who's been following, at this point, Moors need to refrain from really commenting and posting comments and memes and whatever posts alluding to a conclusional objective of what's going on, or conclusional understanding of what's going on and what this situation with Morocco in the Western Sahara. What's taking forth or what's taking place. Well, let me do this real quick because see that I'm talking. Let me say this. I don't even want to be able to say it. I don't want to. I'm not doing this for close-ups. I'm not like that. I'm not trying to. Moors need to stop posting and saying things about Morocco to deal with the Western Sahara without full comprehension and understanding what is going on. Part of that. You need to refrain and only be at this point have an observant stance and an observant position and not jump to conclusions. Okay? Because even though things right now, I could say things are very premature for us to come to that conclusion. And because Moorish Americans are not keen on international law, international dealings, when it comes to those particular situations. Okay. And the reason why I say this is because if you look closer into the idea of what's going on in Morocco and the Western Sahara, is that Morocco is basically, or what I'm gonna say this, what Trump has done has nothing to do with in 410. Morocco's previous relationship with the United States, Morocco being in America, all that type of stuff where people are very jumping into conclusions. And that's not true. Trump is doing Trump, using his ego to get brownie points. I'm going to recognize their sovereignty, despite what the UN said. The UN has put out, and it's in the UN Constitution and their rules, is saying that anyone who had previous sovereign power over an area prior to colonialism cannot obtain that area after colonialism is over. So after whatever European power had pulled out of the Western Sahara, I think it might be France or whoever, Morocco couldn't presume their sovereign authority over that now, because now the the Sahels, but who still live there, who dwell in there, that's their land, and they're not agreeing to loyalty under Moroccan rule, and they have that international right according to the UN. So they siding with Algeria, and in which Algeria doesn't agree with Morocco taking over the western side. So all the nations that are saying that are recognizing uh, Morocco's some this supposed sovereignty over Western Sahara, they're not in agreement with it. The UN is not in agreement with it. This is just a move that Trump is doing in order to get brownie points. Okay. Then he's doing the deal with Israel, trying to speak, dealing with Morocco, building the ties with Israel. This is big because it violates international law on different levels. And I'm not an expert on international law, but from what I read and articles I read, and just brother Abdullah sent me the audio, I was just like, oh, okay. Let's see, Moors, we get Moorish Americans, we be like, oh my God, they, Western Sahara, them, Western Sahara, that means he, in code, he was talking about the sovereign rule over here. No, he wasn't. He wasn't talking about that. He was talking about the Western Sahara. So sovereign rule over here. No. That's why you had a more scientific America. Because Morocco lost. It was done. Wherever, look, someone told me before, wherever the Spanish colonies were in America, that's where you had the Moors had their dominions. The Moroccan or the Moorish Empire had their dominions. But once Spain came over and took over and maintained those dominions, that's it. That's what the powers. It was done. Because it went through a phase. It went through a phase. Al Andalusia, which had rule over Al Andalus, a good portion of the northwestern part of Africa, down to Gambia or even Ghana, a portion of Ghana, and over here. But when we mainly where we were at, where the Moorish Empire reigned was mainly in the northeast, over along the east coast. It didn't reign. It wasn't, they didn't stretch past too far west. It was mainly on the east coast. And then you probably had some people that made soldiering out, but that authority didn't soldier with them. And it says eventually, by that time, the authority died. For the last stronghold, Granada. Right? With I know I'm going off tangent here. Uh, uh, what's the brother? He's our brother, but he sure done messed up. I'll tell you that now. Elzagal. Elzagal. Elzagal was the one who After he was overthrown, you got Ebedel, Elzagar. Elzagar was, after they got to Elzagar, he gave up basically, they said technically he gave up the whatever deeds and rights to the territories in America. That's why the next year they, like 1491 and then 1492, they're selling right over here that quick. Islam. So um, it's 946 Moors. But yeah, that please for all Moorish Americans, I ain't flexing no authority. I don't really have it really. Everyone basically is doing whatever they want to do out there in social media land in the world. I don't know what they're doing, but I'm just encouraging. Please sound intelligent. There are Moors out here talking to this one and that one. You know, some reaching out to the Moroccans, and this is like, bro, that's not, you know, you know, I, I'm not against. I say, we say we're not Moroccan. I'm not saying I'm not Moroccan or I'm not a Moroccan citizen and all that. That's what I'm saying, but because that in its text, saying, is different. Because they went through such a phase. But I'm not saying that those, my brothers and sisters are not there in Morocco. They are. They are. Remember, we are the true possessors of Moroccan Empire. I mean that which it is ours because we are them. We are the original people who founded the Moroccan Empire. The prophet said that the Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. He says in our Constitution, Act 6, we didn't say we're Moroccan. We're descendants of Moroccans born in America. And descendant on the so going off a tangent. Oh wow. Black Laws Dictionary. I don't see too many of these on Amazon no more. Black Laws Dictionary. I have a fourth edition. I don't see too many of these. I mean, they are there, but like the good ones, what they say is the good ones. You can actually find descendant. I would like to learn how to spell descent. Okay. Descent. Let's use the word descent. That's the root word of descent. Okay. Hereditary succession. We know that. Well, succession to ownership of an estate by inheritance or by any act of law as distinguished from purchase. Title by descent is the title by which one person, upon the death of another, acquires the real estate of the latter as his heir-at-law. Pardon by. Title of inheritance is all cases called descent, although by statute law the title is sometimes made to ascent. Okay. Division among those legally entitled here thereto of real property real estates. Well, I mean, in the states, and then you deal with uh, where you're dealing with actual. What I'm trying to find is the part where when you look at descent, it doesn't necessarily go line of descent. Uh, the order of series of persons who have descended from one. I mean, descended one from other or all from a common ancestor. Here we go. Considered as placed in a line of succession, the order of their birth, the line showing the connection of all the blood relatives. Okay. Then you have collateral line, a line of descent connecting person who are not directly related to each other as ascendants or descendants, but whose relation consists of a common descent from the same ancestor. Okay. So you have direct line, then you have collateral line. That means that you're not necessarily related, but you all have a common ancestor. Okay. Um, and being that the Moabites said what the prophet was saying. So then you have descendant, and right here. One who's descended from another, a person who proceeds from the body of a, of another, such as a child, grandchild, remotest degree. Okay, the remotest degree. The term is opposite of ascendant. Right now, keep that word in mind. Okay, remotest. So, what is the remotest degree? Here to the R's. Remotest degree. I'm just sharing right now. We're gonna close because we gotta understand this whole Moroccan thing doesn't necessarily mean you're actual Moroccan or the Moroccans that are present in representation. Okay, that's why the prophet had to connect us to the Moabites in that sense, because that's what at a distance, remote, a distance, afar off, in consideration or inconsiderable slight. Okay, so you're a descendant from Moroccans born in America. Isn't necessarily your bloodline or your distant of connecting to the current Moroccans at this time. But from the remotest degree, you have in a relation to Morocco. Okay, because remember the Moorish Empire stretched to the lands. What I said, all the way to possibly Ghana. So some of your ancestry might be from Ghana, and then also there was dominions here in America. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, those who fell under that jurisdiction, you know what I'm saying? So you might have ancestry that fell under that jurisdiction. That doesn't necessarily mean exactly that you are from and a direct descendant of Morocco. You know what I'm saying? When the descendant could be from the remotest degree, that means it could be from a far off connection, but you still have a slight connection to the Morocco or to that particular kingdom or empire at one time. You know what I'm saying? So the prophet actually took us even further back and said we were actually Moabites. Okay, that that we sojourned or we founded. So he's reconnecting you even that by relation to the Moroccans. You know what I'm saying, or that more Moorish Empire of Morocco. Islam. I don't know if I cleared that up for the most part, but let's move to close. Islam. Let's move to close. It is 9:55, and I'm going to let everyone they rest. I know it's Friday, you guys gonna kick back eventually, but prepare yourselves, inshallah, for uh, December 21st, Monday. That's when, energies will align. Hopefully, whatever you've been experiencing uh, this year, hopefully, 21 will be different, and that this Monday will be an opportunity you'll be able to focus and see what you need to do for 2021. You know, so we're gonna move to close. Prophet warns all Muslims to be ready at in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, true peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the law laid down by them by their prophet. And if they lose confidence in their prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. For this though is a holy and divine movement founded by a prophet Noble Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet is sending out a divine plea to call all true Moorish Americans that they may do their part in protecting their prophet in the temple. This is the everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace and over to be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me in the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials of the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me in the movement will be remembered. That is why am calling all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance. I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and ability. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet of Israel. Or is this a significant reading? When you read to be proclaimed at every meeting, it's significant because this is marks the turmoil and what the prophet was going through and what he was about to go through, even unto his death. He says he needs finance, he needs a bat. Because at this time, Cora Green had kicked him out the house, kicked him out of his office, and stole all the money. So he didn't have anything left. Islam. So when you hear that, keep that in mind that this is during the time where they turning up on the prophet. The prophet needs. I'm glad I got a few faithful Moors because at this time they done took the temples away from them. Temples already jumped ship. Just about. So, any announcements or any questions? We'll end up with the prophet's prayer. I'll just say this: if y'all have a chance, keep Brother Solo in your prayers, and his his twins are coming, should be coming home this week. If not today, tomorrow, I don't know exactly when. Keep him in prayer. Keep him and his new wife in prayer. Without going into details, just keep him in prayer. Ask Allah to send him strength, understanding, peace, and mind. You know, that they, whatever is going on in their hearts, their minds, whatever fears, everything, that they'll find strength and surety in Allah and in each other to help. Because, the babies is gonna need it. They're coming home from the hospital, so inshallah. I'm gonna move to close of prayer. Allah bind our hearts and minds back to ancient forefathers, divine creed principles. This we ask in our holy name, the seven Amen. Peace and love, Morris. Happy holy day.
Happy holy day. Peace and love. Gratitude.